What's up, everybody? Welcome into Happy Hour. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Thanks so much for being here. Super Wild Card Week is almost upon us. I saw somebody in the chat mentioned how much snow we got in Green Bay. I think Matt responded 6 inches so far. I'm not sure. I'm out in Sabisky, and I know that it's a lot so far, and more is coming. I know everything's canceled around us. School was canceled today. All sports around us are like canceled tomorrow. So it is a lot, but hope everyone is staying safe and sound that's in the area or that is affected by snow in their area or cold in their area. I know there's going to be some brutal temperatures as well. Kansas City, Miami. Sounds like it's going to be quite the experience on Sunday Night Football. Excuse me, guys. But yeah, so it should be a really, really fun weekend of football overall. Matt, hope you feel better. Nick, thank you so much for becoming a new YouTube member. For those of you who haven't checked it out yet, make sure to do so. Tons of options available. That's all I'll say on that. But what better time to become a Pack a Day Podcast YouTube member than right now? Super Wildcard Week as we head into obviously a really fun matchup with the Cowboys this weekend. All right, Ian, start us off. Favorite memories from the 2007 season to this day, one of my all-time favorites. Thanks as always. Stay warm this weekend, everyone. Yeah, easily one of my favorite seasons, if not like my favorite season. I know it's tough to have a favorite season when there's two Super Bowl seasons, and this is not one of them. But it's always like related to expectations. And I think that's what makes this run so far this season really fun. Now they probably need to get at least one win for it to be anywhere in that conversation. But that 2007 season had a variety of ones. That overtime win against Denver. You had the NFC championship game against, or sorry, the AFC or NFC divisional round game against the Seahawks. The championship game was not fun. But the Seahawks game was an all-time great Packer game. No question about it. Snowball, go down 14-0 to the Seahawks and then just destroy them from there. Like some of the 5-wide stuff that they did late in the season was really, really fun. Just a really, really fun season. Greg Jennings that year. Aaron Rodgers in the Cowboy game, getting to see kind of his little breakout moment. There was so much from that season that was so freaking fun. But yeah, one of my all-time favorites. Corn Robinson signing late in the year, getting excited about that. Just so many different things from that season was super fun. Thinking of offseason for improvements to the team, would the Packers dip into free agency for a safety? Really like Xavier McKinney from the Giants. Deep range safety, tackles well, and is only 24. Yeah, if him or Antoine Winfield become available, that'd be really smart. I saw somebody post, like, give me the Wink Martindale Xavier McKinney package, like sign me the heck up for that. I think the first thing Green Bay needs to do is decide, obviously, their defensive coordinator and who they want back on DC. If it's Joe Barry, it's not that safeties aren't important, but they're a little less important. Like Savage and Owens and Anthony Johnson Jr. and Rudy Ford have been mostly fine in this defense because this defense doesn't always ask a ton of their safeties. It's a lot of too high. And again, I'm not saying, of course, you would love still a Xavier McKinney, but I could make an argument that if I were going to spend resources, I'd probably on defense in like a Joe Barry system, I'd rather have it defensive line, linebacker, edge rusher, and corner. I think those are just a little bit more important. If you bring in a system that is going to be, more pressure oriented and you're going to play some single high safety and they've got to have range and versatility, have to be able to cover some guys one-on-one, then your safety becomes much more important. So I think the first thing you have to recognize is what defense are you running? How important is the safety position in that defense? And then is that the position that you want to prioritize? But man, if they got an Antoine Winfield or a Xavier McKinney, someone like that, and added them to this defense, it's going to immediately help. It adds some playmaking potential, some versatility, does a variety of different things for you. So yeah, sign me the heck up. And I'm also on board with the Xavier McKinney, Wink Martindale package for Green Bay in 2024. All right, let's get Super Chat. Pack a Day membership is amazing value. Andy spends forever on members only chats alone and then does members only video too. Thank you, Vex. I appreciate that. Also, did 2 of the Hall of Fame one-on-ones today. So if you sign up to be a Hall of Fame member, you also get a one-on-one, every single month that we do. And I had a couple of really awesome one-on-ones today. I've done them all season long. They're a ton of fun getting to chat one-on-one with Packers members. So think about that as well. But appreciate that, Vex. Andrew, thanks so much for becoming a member. Really appreciate that as well. Lucas is adding another safety to the list. Jeremy Chin, that's another one that's probably a little cheaper. After his rookie season has slowed down a little bit, so it hasn't been quite the same situation for Jeremy Chin. McKinney and Winfield have outplayed him, but you also get Chin at a cheaper value. And I think he'd be a really good fit. It's sort of a hybrid linebacker safety. You have to know how to use him. I would really like him in like a, like you have Quay, and it's tough because I think you need like an early down thumper still as a linebacker. But if you could have Quay and then like platoon an early down thumper with like Jeremy Chin on obvious passing downs, I think you could really find something there. But either way, Chin has the potential to be a playmaker and certainly would not be upset with that sort of idea at all. PJ Wynn gifting 5 Pack a Day podcast memberships. Super, super kind of you. Really appreciate that, PJ. Yeah, PJ, you've been an awesome member. So really appreciate you. I know you've been here a while. Always appreciate everything that you do. So thank you for that. Me and Nags are live at the same time. I thought you were doing a joint show. No, I know. This is the one time where Nagler and I sort of intersect each other a little bit, other than when we do Let's Talk Football on Mondays. I wish it would work out for both of us a little bit different, but I'll probably change it once the season's over. Just in regular season, there's only so many times that work for me. But once the regular season's over, or I should say once the season's over, since the regular season's already over, probably we'll change it up a little bit, and maybe we'll try some different things. But yeah, no, it's always a little bit of a, I don't know, conflict between the two of us, I guess. All right. Saw a post on a Packer Facebook group that Ja probably won't play. I know he twisted his ankle, but this can't be true. Yeah, he didn't practice again today, Greg, and that's never a great sign when somebody doesn't practice Friday. Christian didn't practice last Friday, even after practicing the 2 days prior, and he did not play. You know, Matt did say that he thinks this is a true game time decision. The thing is with like Ja, he needs to have full mobility. Like that's his superpower, is his ability to, you know, cut on a dime and make quick movements. Like that's who he is. If he doesn't have that full mobility, like good luck against CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks and those guys. You're just fighting an uphill battle. I don't know. It doesn't look great. And even if he plays, you have to wonder like how good, like, is he 80%, 75%? So they're all going to be things worth monitoring. But I think still the good news, they've won 4 huge games with Valentine, and Nixon as their primary corners. The 3-game win streak, Chargers, Chiefs, Lions, the must win against the Vikings, Valentine, Nixon. These guys have played together. They know each other. It's not like you're starting this brand new corner group. Less than ideal. Yeah. Would you like Ja out there? Yes. But it's not trending in the right direction. But it does sound like he might be a true game time decision. Although Matt said that last week too with Christian Watson, and then basically said, hey, I knew he wasn't going to play. Tough to say either way. All right. Spiked Mocha. 2021 special teams DVOA -4.9, 2023 -3.2. Are we giving Rich a bit of a pass despite not delivering anything but one truly average year? Spike Mocha, I would not even say last year was a truly average year. It was 22nd overall. That's still not good enough, in my opinion. And Keyshawn sort of saved them last year from probably being like 29th, 30th in DVOA again. To me, here's where I'm at with the special teams. It's not good enough. I'm not willing to say like Rich needs to go or anything like that. The reason being is this was a big time project for the Packers. Like a massive, massive project. I don't think it's going well enough. And I do think next year should be like a make or break year for Bisaccia. But I think the last thing you want is to implement a new system for 2 consecutive years and then just trash it already. I think that he deserves one more season. I think he's proven through the course of his career that he can put together solid, if not spectacular, special teams. But I do think you give him one more year. But it needs to be a lot better next year. No question about it. You need to see signs of it going in the right direction. Or after next year, I do think you have to start looking again. The other thing here too, if Matt does move on from Joe Barry in the offseason, he is starting to like gather a list of bodies at his coordinator positions. Now, Nathaniel Hackett's not his fault that he left. He left to go get a head coaching job. And then, Steno's been an offensive coordinator ever since, but starts with Pettin. Pettin gets fired, then goes to Joe Barry. If Joe Barry gets fired, he's already fired 2 special teams coordinators. If he would fire a third, like you would have already fired then. If he fires Barry and Bisaccia, he's now gone through 5 coordinators in his tenure that he's fired. And then one that left on their own volition to a head coaching job. If you're wanting to attract new coordinators to the position, constantly firing everyone on your coordinator staff is not generally a good way to do that. I would be beyond shocked if Rich Bisaccia got fired. They just gave him an assistant head coach position in the offseason. He's not going anywhere, but I do think the pressure ramps up pretty big next year going into 2024. All right. The PFF podcast. Thanks so much again, Vex. Really appreciate it. The PFF podcast talks about Keyshawn Nixon getting torched like 84% completion and 190-ish passer rating. Does Green Bay get wild? First of all, yeah, Nixon's been struggling in coverage all season long. A couple big plays here or there. It's just not there. He just can't stick with a lot of guys, and they can't just put him on CeeDee Lamb. Like, they're going to have a crazy game plan, or he's just going to get roasted. So and it's going to be a lot of zone, guys. It's going to be a lot of zone because they can't man up, especially if Jair's out. Even if Jair's in, they can't just man up with this entire Cowboys receiving core. So it'll be a ton of zone against Dallas. They're going to have to be creative. I don't think Nixon's going to not start in this game, though. He'll start. They don't have another great option. If Ja can go, you could maybe talk yourself into Ja, Valentine, and Ballantyne, with Ballantyne playing on the outside. But I don't see it that way. Nixon will still start, but it's definitely a position that you need to upgrade, that slot corner spot going into next year. And I know maybe some people say well, what about Savage in the slot? He can't cover either. There's things that he can bring to the table as a slot corner, but he can't cover, especially in man. They just don't have a great option there. It's likely going to be Valentine, and Nixon. Maybe you get a little Jair. Maybe he can play, but yeah, it's going to be a tough matchup for these corners. All right, Skyler, who's your pick for unsung hero of the season? I haven't heard a single mention of Enigbare despite having a number of wild plays. Yeah, that's a good answer. Although I will say Enigbare has been much better in the second half of the year than he was in the first half. He kind of no-showed the first half, so I'm not sure if I would put him there. Rasheed Walker would absolutely be in that conversation. Going from really a turnstile at left tackle. Although if I'm making the argument that Enigbare only played well the second half, I certainly need to make that same argument for Rasheed Walker, because the first half he was like a turnstile, he wasn't blocking anyone. But in the second half, he's looked like a legitimate starting left tackle. He would definitely be on my list. Corey Ballantyne, not great, right? I don't think anyone's pining and being gosh, need more Corey Ballantyne. He's amazing, but to go from practice squad guy to hey, we'll add him as our sixth corner in case we need somebody on special teams, to starting as much as he has, he deserves a ton of credit. That's not a player that you were expecting any playing time from. And he's been mostly a net neutral, some negative, obviously, but mostly a net neutral as a starting corner that you never would have expected out of him. So he would have to be on the list. Carl Brooks, although he's getting a lot more recognition as of late, that's for sure. I still think Rasheed's in that conversation. Yeah, I think those would probably be my unsung heroes. I think I'd probably lean towards Rasheed Walker or Corey Ballantyne if I were going in that direction, Skylar. But good question. I like that one. All right, there we go. Sam, does a fast track on turf and Jerry World benefit or hamper this team? I think it's probably neutral here because it benefits Dallas. They're so freaking fast on that field, especially defensively. I think it benefits them, but I think it benefits Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton, Aaron Jones. It benefits his Packers offense too. I think overall it's probably a little bit of a slight positive for Dallas, but I don't see it as being the decider in this game. And I think this team can put up points. I think this should be a game where we see a lot of points. And I think the fast track will lend itself to that as well. But I don't know that it necessarily is a huge swing one way or the other, but maybe a slight benefit for Dallas if I had to go one way. My dad was a huge Cowboys fan, and he passed away exactly a year before the game this weekend. I fear the Cowboys are destined to win. Go Pack Go. Well, first of all, Jay Weston, I'm sorry for your loss. That certainly cannot be easy, and I'm sure there's going to be a wide range of emotions for you through the course of this game. But either way, I hope you can find a way to enjoy the game. I think it should be a very entertaining game one way or the other, whether Dallas wins or Green Bay wins. I do think this is a close game. I don't think it's a 7-point spread. I don't think it's a blowout one way or the other. I mean, I know it's a 7.5-point spread, but you get my point. Either way, I hope you can find a way to enjoy the game this weekend, Jay Western, and definitely thoughts with you. As like I said, I'm sure this will be an emotional game for you. Jimmy Johnson, thanks for the great content all season. Let's go steal one on Sunday. I'm right there with you. My only thing I'm nervous about is that I'm semi-confident in the Packers going into this week. And it's sort of been you go into week one and you're not sure what to expect. And they go out and they beat the Bears. And then you get this level of confidence. and then they lose a bunch of games. And then like just when you think things are going terribly, they go win 3 in a row. And just when you get that confidence back and you're like, man, this team's really good. They got the easiest schedule remaining. They go and they lose to the Buccaneers and the Giants. And just when you're thinking again, like, oh, this team sucks, they're not going to do anything, they go and win 3 in a row and they make the playoffs. So we should all just think that they suck going into this game and that they have no chance and that 7.5 point spread is legit. But like, I can't get it out of my head. I think they can really compete in this game. And I think they have a real chance. I'm really excited. But that's the only thing that's making me nervous. But Jimmy, you are more than welcome. And yeah, should be a really fun game. Trav Makes Beats, welcome to the channel. And thanks so much for becoming a YouTube member. Really appreciate that. Just want to make sure I got all the super chats here. PJ, thanks again. We got DVOA, PFF Podcast, Unsung Hero, Cowboys Fan. All right, I think we got everything. All right, so let's jump back into the regular chat. All right, John, does it seem like Musgrave and Kraft might be the keys to the passing game? Here's the really cool thing, John. I don't think Green Bay needs a key to the passing game. Not when you have a ton of weapons at wide receiver. Christian Watson's questionable, so we don't really know yet, but he did practice all week long. Hopefully he can go, but you're going to have almost a full complement or a full complement of wide receivers. Musgrave and Kraft at tight end, Jones at running back. They have plenty of weapons. So I don't know that there's like going to be one guy that you'd be like, this guy has to step up. I do think Aaron Jones has to have a big game. I think they have to run the ball. And I do think they are going to have to find success on the ground and stick with the running game. But outside of that, I think in the passing game, they have a variety of weapons. Now, Kraft as a run blocker, I think is really important in this game. And I think he can be a bit of a matchup piece for Green Bay. Dallas is going to want to use quicker players, lighter players. And I think you're going to see a lot of Tucker Kraft. Kraft's been blocking a lot better. Their offensive line is coming off their best run blocking game of the season. If those 6 up front can block Dallas's front, because they like keeping their safeties back, their corners off, their linebackers are super slim. If you can do that, you can run on these guys. And if Kraft can go out and execute, and if this running game and this offensive line can go out and execute, you have the opportunity to put up yards and points and really be successful. So from a run blocking standpoint, I do think Kraft is a huge key to this one. But the biggest one for me is Aaron Jones. And from a pass game standpoint, just find who's ever open, go through your progressions and reads and go where you're supposed to go with the ball, because almost all those guys have been getting open every single week as of late. Salty Jordy, good to see you. Every time I think of Green Bay and Jerry World, I automatically think of Aaron throwing fades to Devontae. Give me one from Jordan to Romeo this week. Let's effing go. Go Pack, go. Yeah, I mean, they've got multiple guys that can throw that too. And go back to last year, Christian Watson tore up the Cowboys. Dontavian Wicks has a little bit of that, Devontae in him, and thinking back of what Devontae's done against Dallas in games past. There's good memories there. And now it's Devontae and Jaden and Romeo and Christian and Aaron and all those guys. It's up to them to make those new memories. So 5 years from now, when we're chatting on a happy hour, we can talk about, remember in that Dallas game in 2024, when, Devontae Wicks had his breakout and he had 180 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns, man, that was awesome. Whatever it might be. Hopefully we're talking about that and along with a Packers win. Baby QB, any predictions of who the call-ups from the practice squad would be? I don't know that they need any. They're not going to call up a wide receiver, I don't think, because they've got everyone they need. And my guess is Watson plays. They don't need a running back because they still have 3. They still have Taylor, Wilson, and Jones. What do they have? Do they have enough corners with no Ja? All right, so they've got, if no Ja, they've got Nixon, Valentine, Rochelle. So a corner's going to get called up, with my guess. Back squad, they have Anthony Johnson, the rookie, and Zion Gilbert. My guess is you're going to see David Long Jr. be a guy that's activated tomorrow. And that might be the only one. I don't think you're going to see a ton others. None of the other ones really make sense. So I'll say I bet David Long Jr. gets activated, and that's probably the only one. Andy's finally over his cough. Have a good weekend, everyone. Go Pack, go. Adam, do not jinx me. I swear if you jinx me and I get this thing back, this thing has been going on for a freaking month. It was, I went to a Festivus party. Yes, a Festivus party in middle of December. And that was like a day before that, or that day I got it. I think it was a day before that. And that was middle of December. And it was like, as of yesterday, I still had it. And it was like earlier this week, I thought I finally got rid of it, and then it came back again. This thing's been insane. So hopefully, Adam, it is gone forever. Did I say Devontae? Did I say Devontae Wicks, or was that like a Freudian slip, or are you just adding on here, John? But yeah, my nickname for him has been Devontavian Wicks has been my nickname. But if I Freudian slipped and said Devontae Wicks, that's my bad, but also 1,000,000% appropriate. Is it confirmed that Christian is probably going to play? No confirmation. He's questionable. He practiced all week. We won't know probably until an hour and a half before kickoff if he's active or not. It does seem to be trending that he's going to play, but with Christian and Packers injuries, you never quite know, but it does seem to be trending that way. Goody turning number 45 into Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and Carl Brooks is some wizardry. Sure damn is. Like, there's no two ways about it. One of the all-time great Packers trades from a draft day standpoint. And I know there was a lot of attractive options at pick 45 because I think that was Brian Branch, right? So like Brian Branch was there. There were a multitude of options that people were really interested in and that Goody could have just taken and been satisfied with. And obviously if you get a Brian Branch, that would have helped the defense a ton. But man, getting Reed, Wicks, and Brooks out of one trade, awesome stuff. Relating to the sickness, 3 weeks straight, come back on Monday, down and out today. Yeah, there's some fun stuff going around. And by fun, I mean awful stuff going around. So stay healthy out there, everyone. Take your vitamins, take your AG1, do what you need to do. From your Cowboys film study, is Green Bay going to try to game plan for Dak similar to what the Cards, Bills, and 49ers did to him? Kevin, I have a little bit more film study to do specifically in some of those games later today and tomorrow. So I should have a little bit better of an idea on that for our pregame show on Sunday. But let's just put it this way. The first thing I expect out of this game is Dallas to follow a very similar formula to what Tampa Bay did against Green Bay. They spread Green Bay out. And as Justice and I talked about earlier this week, this defense has not had really any answers to teams spreading them out all season long. And Dallas has the weapons to do it. They've got a good tight end, 3 wide receivers, and a running back you can split out wide. I think they can probably do a ton of Pollard and Ferguson out wide with their 3 wide receivers, and you're going to get a matchup that's advantageous to you almost every single time. And then I think Dak's going to feel very comfortable. 3-5-step drop, getting the ball out of his hands to the mismatch. That's what I'm concerned about from a Packers standpoint. As far as what Green Bay tries to do to control it, like I said, we're going to see a lot of zone. We're going to have to see how they match up. If Ja's available, even Joe Barry said they're going to have 2 different game plans dependent upon if Ja's available or not. But either way, like the way to win this game is to make sure that you do not allow a rushing game from Dallas. If Pollard in that running game gets going, you're just in total no man's land because then they can cut you every single way. You have to at least limit the ways that they can beat you. If it's running the ball and throwing the ball, you're probably just screwed. So you have to stop the run. And then you've got to be able to play with 7 in the secondary and win with 4 up front. And yes, they're going to need to bring an extra guy sometimes, get those one-on-one matchups. It's what's been working for them, but they're going to have to do it in creative times, in the right moments, and in creative ways. But they have to win with their front 4, and they've got to be able to cover with 7 on the back end while also stopping the run. There's no perfect game plan in this one, but those are the best options for Green Bay. And then you got to get a turnover or 2. Like, they need to take the ball away. They've been mostly allergic to interceptions all season long. They got to find a way. Rudy Ford picked him off twice in Green Bay a season ago. They got to find a way to confuse Dak and get a couple interceptions on the play. Do you think Sean Ryan is the plan at guard next season, or do you think they will add early in the draft? Thanks again, Andy. As I've kind of been saying, I think the awesome thing right now for this offensive line is if you need to go into next season with Rasheed Walker at left tackle, with Elton Jenkins at left guard, Myers at center, Ryan at right guard, and Zach Tom at right tackle, you feel good. It's basically what they're running with for at least half the game right now, right? Because Sean Ryan and Runyon are rotating, but everyone else is starting. If you need to just put Sean Ryan in full time and Runyon's gone and Nyman's gone and Bakhtiari can't play, you feel extremely comfortable with the 5 that you have as starters. Now, Runyon's a free agent, Nyman's a free agent, Bakhtiari you can't count on. So depth becomes a much bigger issue going into next year. And I still think you want competition. I think you want competition at left tackle for Rasheed. I think you want competition at center for Josh. And I think you want competition at right guard for Sean Ryan. So my plan, if I were Green Bay, I would love to take somebody in like the 2nd round of the draft that has that versatility, that can come in and immediately push. Maybe take another player in round 4 along the offensive line, keep building up that depth. keep building up that competition. And I think the biggest thing right now for Green Bay moving forward is protecting Jordan. You have the weapons you need. You need to get a succession plan going at running back sooner rather than later. But if you protect Jordan, you know what he can do for you now. So job 1A for this team is make sure that Jordan's protected at all times. He's your guy, and then build up that defense, find a long-term succession at running back. And those should be kind of 1, 2, 3 for this team moving forward. Vex, will Dak throw us a pick like old Dak? Speak it into existence. I am absolutely there for it. Goody exec of the year. He absolutely should be in the conversation. Nick Caserio in Houston also deserves a ton of love as well, because they go out, they get CJ Stroud with pick 2. They trade up for Will Anderson. That team looked awful, and now they're in the playoffs. So like, that's probably the battle there, is between, Houston and Green Bay for, front office of the year awards, but Goody definitely in the conversation there. Mike, is Caleb Jones part of the future? There's 2 ways to look at this. If you want him to be part of the future, the good news is that they literally kept him on the 53-man roster all year, despite having 0 intentions of ever playing him. The only reason that you do that is because you think he has long-term developmental potential. They've basically redshirted him for 2 consecutive seasons with no plans of playing him. Again, you only do that if you think he has legitimate long-term potential and there's growth opportunities there. Now, 2024 is probably do or die for Caleb, meaning it's now or never. You have to show that you're ready to play. He can't get another redshirt season in 2024. He needs to prove that he can be a legitimate option on game days. So that's the good news. The bad news is, like, he's in year 2, and if there's been multiple times this year where Green Bay's only needed to deactivate one healthy player, and it's Caleb Jones every time. He's literally the 53rd guy on the roster. And if he was somebody that they thought was ready to play or could come in and step in a pinch if somebody got hurt, he would be active. And they clearly do not feel that way. So again, there's weigh it out which way you want to go with it. The good news is they still believe in him. Otherwise, his 53-man roster spot would have been gone a while ago. The bad news is they don't believe in him enough to be active on game days. So that's where things are at right now. But it's probably like a now or never in 2024 of hey, now it's time for you to show us something that you can be a legitimate backup. And if you can't, probably time for Green Bay to go in a different direction. All right. Do you think Jordan being there for the 2021 playoff runs helps him when it comes to the way that you need to prepare for a playoff game? Yeah, absolutely. I think any playoff game for a team helps everyone that's on the 53-man or everyone that's on the entire roster. What's 70-man roster plus IRs? Because they've got the Kenneth Odumegwu. There's a name we haven't talked about in a long time on the international pathway practice squad plan. But yeah, I think it helps everyone. I think it gives you extra preparation. I think you see the game speed live in real time. Now, Jordan's going to feel it differently from being in the game, that game speed. But I think him being able to sit on the sidelines and watch Aaron and see how he went through that preparation, every piece of that is important for Jordan. Everything that he got to learn along the way, how to handle himself, how to make himself available to teammates, the leadership, the speed of the game, all of that helps. So yeah, I'm totally with you. I think it totally helps him for this run. Now, again, you still have to go out and perform on the field, and there's going to be a different speed that he's going to have to adjust to, but it definitely helps him. Andy, can you remember a draft with as much early success as this one? No, not the early success and the amount of players that are having early success. Like, this draft class is contributing in a variety of different ways. I mean, you've obviously got, multiple wide receivers that are helping, and even the undrafted class with a guy like Malik Heath as well. They're contributing at wide receiver in a big way. 3 rookie tight ends. And I know that Ben Sims isn't technically a part of their draft class, but he's a rookie that they got off of waivers. 3 rookie tight ends are all, contributing. We could go down the line. You guys know all the names: Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden along the defensive line, Carrington Valentine at corner. Ups and downs from their kicker, Anders, but he's contributed as well, for better or worse at times. But the amount of players and the success that they're having is really, really impressive. LVN, obviously. So yeah, no, I can't remember one for Green Bay that's been this dynamic with this many players so early in the process. All right. Actually, let's go to this one first. Martin, is Watson injury prone? You have to say, I don't even know that I think if injury prone is a thing or not, honestly. It just, you get hurt. It happens. Some people it seems to happen to more than often. I would put Christian Watson in that category so far. Had an awesome conversation with Mike Wall today about, well, is it the strength and conditioning staff, or what does Christian need to do differently? Awesome convo. Highly recommend checking that out with Mike Wall. I had one of my favorite conversations with him this week, and I think it was one of our best episodes. So definitely check that out. We talked about Christian and his injury issues at length, but he's been prone to injuries. So I guess, yes, he has been prone to injuries. I don't think that's his fault. I don't think that's anything that he has necessarily done wrong. I don't think that that's necessarily a harbinger of things to come moving forward. I don't think he's just cursed to this constantly being an issue over the remainder of his career. Through 2 seasons, he has been injured a lot, and it's sucked, and it's a bummer. I feel for him, but I do think he still has a lot to offer for this team. I do think he will bounce back, and he could help Green Bay a ton even this week if he's available. But availability is important. I get it, but I'm not willing to sell any stock on Christian Watson. And in fact, if anyone is selling theirs, as I mentioned this week, I will absolutely buy all of it. All right. Is our youth an advantage or disadvantage this week? They haven't gotten playoff experience, but they don't know what they're not supposed to win. They're in almost every situation, and this is one of those, John, it's a bit of both. They have some advantages in the fact that they don't know what they don't know. They're probably ignorant enough to think they can beat anyone, which is a good thing. And I think they're hungry, they're confident, they're young, they've got a swagger. I think they have a lot of those things that are very positive for them. On the flip side, with youth also comes inexperience. There are things that Dallas probably throws at them that some of these guys just haven't seen. There's a playoff speed and a playoff atmosphere that this team, for the most part, just has not experienced for the majority of these guys. So I think there's advantages and disadvantages to both. I think this game isn't going to be decided because Green Bay's younger or that Dallas is more experienced. It'll be who goes out and executes better and who doesn't turn over the football. It's going to be basic football stuff. I said it earlier this week. Dallas has more avenues to winning this game. What I mean by that is if Dallas wins the turnover battle and like the third down, the red zone stuff, like the basic tenets of how to win a football game, Dallas is just going to win. If things are even, like, and everything balances out, no big errors, no big penalties, the turnover battle is equal, no big difference in third down or fourth down stuff, Dallas probably just has a little bit of a better team and has a little bit better experience, and they're playing at home. Dallas probably wins. If Green Bay wins the turnover battle, they probably win. I don't think it's like a guarantee, but they probably win. And if Green Bay wins those things in a significant way, they just win. So I think Dallas has more avenues to win. If you were to sim this out 100 times, I think Dallas probably wins 65, 70 of them is my guess. But Green Bay wins 30 of them or 25, whatever it is, 25, 30, 35. They win a decent amount of them. And we're just in one of those multiverses, and they just need to win that one. So I'll just hold up my Doctor Strange one finger. You just need the one scenario to go right. Hopefully that's the one we get to experience this Sunday. We are really taking a cornerback in the first round, right? Tiago, I'll put it at 50-50, which is a high number, by the way, because there's a lot of positions that you could draft. I'm going to change it a little bit. I'm going to say 50-50 defensive back versus everything else. I might even go 60-40 defensive back versus everything else. But I definitely think they're taking a defensive back in the first round is the more likely scenario. But it could be offensive line. But it feels like it's going to be offensive line or defensive back. If you put me on the spot right now and said I can have defensive back or offensive line or the field, give me 1,000,000% defensive line or excuse me, offensive line or defensive back. Is this a trap game for Dallas? Sarcasm. No, not a trap game. Love it, Ken. Let's do it. Absolutely. How great is it that Dobbs, who's good, is our worst wide receiver? Yeah, I wouldn't even define it necessarily as worst, Gary. And I think there's things that he can do as a wide receiver that let me put it that way. I just love that all these wide receivers bring something different to the table. Probably the closest like two wide receivers to each other in form of like skill set are probably Jaden Reed and Bo Melton. And even they're a little bit different. And they've been playing Bo a lot on the outside. Not that Jaden can't do that, but none of these receivers are really alike. Christian is very different from Romeo, who's different from Jaden, who's different from Dontavian, who's different from Malik Heath, who's different from, like, they all are just a little bit different. And that's what I love. And Tucker is different than Musgrave, who's different than Sims. Dylan's different than Jones. They just have all these different flavors of players that they can use dependent upon what play they want to run. And that's where really Green Bay's gotten so much better in the second half of the season. They've gotten better in a variety of ways, but the big one is utilizing all these guys to their specific strengths. Malik Heath is the best blocker of that group. If you need a wide receiver out wide and you're going to throw one of those little bubble screens and you need one of those guys to block for you, Malik Heath is your wide receiver 1 for that situation. That like, it might sound stupid or whatever, like Malik Heath, wide receiver 1. No, he's not wide receiver 1. He's wide receiver 6 or 7. But in that specific situation, he's wide receiver 1. If you told me that, hey, we're going to throw a back shoulder fade to the corner of the end zone, Romeo Doubs, probably wide receiver 1 on the back shoulder fade. If you told me, hey, we need to run a 9 route and we have to win on this, probably Christian Watson, wide receiver 1 for that situation. Hey, we need a slot guy that can cross all the way, across the length of the field and also like kind of make the corner not sure which direction he's going in. Jaden Reed, probably your wide receiver 1 for that situation. Like every single one of these guys does things a little bit different, and dependent upon the situation that you need them for, can bring that specific skill set to the table. And like I said, I think that's what Green Bay has really done a much, much better job of in the second half of the season. Salty. This is a salty take, Salty Jordy. Want to see the Lions get cooked by Stafford. That was my prediction. If you guys remember with Carmen Vitale, like 3-4 weeks ago, I predicted that the Rams were going to get the first round matchup with the Lions and that Stafford was going to go into Detroit and win the game. Either way, what a really fun game. But I don't know about you guys. For me, that like the game immediately following the Packer game depends a lot on how the Packer game went. If the Packer game went poorly, it makes it a lot less fun and interesting to watch the game immediately following. And this is the game immediately following. Plus, by the way, you guys aren't going to be able to catch a lot of that game because you are going to be in our live post-game show, which will be going on through the first half of that game. So you're going to have to multitask at least and watch that game as we discuss Green Bay's victory over the Dallas Cowboys live on the post-game show. Want to go to Detroit for the NFC Championship? That'd be a fun matchup. I'll take that. All right. Richard and Pete, same kind of question. What do you think of Eric Stokes' future in Green Bay? Hate his injury issues. He's very talented. And what did you see from Eric Stokes? I saw a corner who was really rusty. Let's start with the Eric Stokes timeline. He comes out of college. He's a raw, physical, talented corner. Comes out of Georgia. He runs like a 4.3 40. You like him because he's physical at the point of attack, that he is extremely fast, and he's got good size. Is he a good, pure technical corner coming out of college? He is not. Your goal going into year one, Green Bay drafts him in the first round, might have been a little bit of an overreach at that point. I think he was probably more of like a mid-second round guy, but you can see the upside. So I didn't have an issue with it. But probably I had I think more of like a mid-second round grade on him, and I think that's kind of where he more slotted out. But again, late first, no harm, no foul. Comes in his first year. He's set to kind of be a rotational guy, not having to be the guy. And then you end up with all the injury issues, including jaw. He starts on the outside and really plays as Green Bay's corner one the majority of that season and plays well. Not great, not really good, but well to good. Enough where you're like, you like the pick already. You're excited about the upside, and things are trending very much in the right direction for him as a long-term starting corner. And you start drooling, thinking about, man, all-pro jaw on one side, and if this guy just has to be the number two, like he's doing fine as like the number one. Imagine once he's the number two, like now you really feel confident. Comes back his second year. You're hoping that he takes a jump from a technical standpoint because he won a lot with his raw traits. He did not. He looked worse from a technical standpoint. It looked like he took year one for granted. It looked like he's like, I got a 4.3 40. I'm from Georgia. Who needs all this technical crap? I can run with anyone. I can cover anyone, and I'm just good enough. And it felt like he kind of took everything for granted. And quite frankly, he kind of sucked over the first half of that second season. He was really bad. And then he has the catastrophic injury. Misses the whole part of his second season. And then this is his third year, and you're expecting to get him back early from injury, has a setback, finally comes back midway through the season, plays 3 snaps of special teams, has another setback, then finally comes back. They start him. He looks extremely rusty and doesn't look really technically sound yet. Doesn't look awful. I think people were over like bearing on like how terrible they thought he looked because he gave up some big plays. there were a couple of those plays that one he was really close on and was like actually pretty decent coverage and they just made a play. And the other one was because I think it might have been Rashawn Gary. Like I forget which edge rusher it was. I think it was Gary that like allowed the quarterback to bounce outside and Stokes had to cover his dude for like 10 seconds. It's not really his fault. But I didn't think it was brutal, but he didn't look any technically better. He looked rusty. And the big thing is you questioned if he still had that 4.340 speed. And I think the answer, at least early on, was no. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have it. It just means that he was getting back in game shape and game speed and things like that. So he plays a couple games, has another setback, and now he's out again. So you're going into year 4, last year of his rookie deal. I don't think you can pick up his 5th-year option in any way. I don't think you can go into next year just being like, yep, he's one of our starters. He's going to be on the roster, but you have to have him compete for everything. I think you would need to add competition and depth in that secondary. If it were me, you got Ja, you got Stokes, you got Valentine. Valentine's probably back in some way, but you need to bring in a couple fresh bodies and create as much competition there as possible, because I don't think you can just go in feeling confident about everything. And it sucks because what we saw in that first rookie year from Eric was pretty darn good. And just things have completely fallen apart since that point. And those are things that like, you can't have those things happen as a franchise that every franchise needs their first round picks to pan out. It's even worse when it looks like it's going to pan out the first year and then just the wheels fall off. I'm hoping he gets it back. If he can even play just like he did in his rookie year, you don't even need more than that. If he can just play like he did his rookie year, he's a solid starter. You like, he would be one of the top 64 corners in the NFL and worthy of a starting spot. But he's going to have to work off that rust. He's going to have to get his speed back, and he's going to have to learn how to be a better technician at the corner position. If he can't, you're probably just always left wanting for more. And year 4 is probably his last year in Green Bay. That's how I would put it. I do not believe Nixon is a safety. No, I don't think that would work, John. I think Nixon is a souped up Jarrett Bush is where you would love him. And what I mean by that is you want him as a primary special teams player. You want him as your primary kick returner, a backup punt returner, and a corner that can go in where if like 3 guys get hurt and then you need a nickel, he can go in a pinch and be fine. Like that's that's ideally where you want Keyshawn Nixon. And there's a lot of value there. And oh, by the way, like also maybe doing some gadget stuff on offense. That's where I would like to see Keyshawn Nixon. And Green Bay doesn't need it because they have enough guys on offense where like you don't need to take snaps from their wide receivers already in place. But a gadget play here or there on offense, primary kick returner, backup punt returner, in case of emergency corner and core special teamer. And like, that's where you want Keyshawn Nixon, in my opinion. Coach going to need to micromanage the defense real-time situationally because I don't trust Barry for that. He's just going to have his pulse on everything. I'm just hopeful that some of the stuff that they've done over the course of the past 2 weeks carries over into this game because they've played better. I'm not saying they played great. There've been plenty of mistakes that were still made, but they've played better. And if they can play that brand of defense against this Dallas team, they're still going to allow like 20 points, but I feel better about it being in the low 20s than rather high 20s or 30s. And if you allow low 20s, Green Bay's offense can put up enough to win. So that's where like the bar is. The offense knows they probably need to put up at least what, like 27 points in this game, 24 at minimum to win. And this defense has to know like, hey, we got to hold these guys at least to like 23. If we can hold them to 23, we feel like we have a chance. If Green Bay's defense holds to 23 or under in this game, I will say, especially if they can get a turnover with it, I will say they did their job. And then Green Bay's offense needs to put up 24 or more. That's where I would put kind of that Mendoza line for success for the defense. AJ Dillon and an empty roster spot are the same. Vex, I don't agree with that, but without sounding harsh, because I like AJ, I think he's a good running back. I think there's things that he can bring to the team. That's not an injury where I look at the injury report and be like, oh, he can't play. I don't think it changes the game one bit. Would I prefer he be there instead of a backup? Yes. Would I prefer he's there, especially if like something were to happen to Aaron Jones where he gets hurt in the game? Yes. But I don't look at that as like an injury that affects this game at all, quite frankly. And I think that's how they have to look at it in the offseason too, is like, do you want that guy to be the guy you bring back, or do you want to start developing a younger, more dynamic running back to back up Aaron Jones? Packers by 6, like it. Strap City. I would try to make the noise if I did the thing. It wouldn't go well. I would end up as a meme on the internet. So Mr. Mikey, I'm going to avoid that. If somebody does like, yeah, no, I'm going to put it out there in the ether. All right. Come on, Vax. As long as he's running straight ahead, he is fine. I think Dylan in the right situations can make some plays. I just think he needs ideal circumstances too often, is how I would put it. In ideal circumstances, Dylan looks good. When things are not ideal, it just doesn't go great. And you can't rely on always needing ideal circumstances. I'll just put it that way. Do the noise, coward. Cheesehead TV, not doing it. I don't know if that's Aaron. It's probably Aaron. Last time it was Aaron, but I'm not doing the noise. If you want to come on, I will send you the link right now. If it's Aaron or Tyler, whoever it is, I will send you the link. You can come in and you can do the noise. All right. On Saturday at AT&T Stadium, the high is 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Game day 114 is the beginning of a cold snap with a high of 25 degrees with snow and ice expected. Pretty cool for the Green Bay Mystique. Love it. Absolutely take that, Nate. Oh, here we go. Let's do this. All right. Please hold, everyone. Got to invite. Copy that. All right. One sec. Please hold. I know this is great content, me sending direct messages to people. All right, there we go. We'll see if we can get the noise in the house. All right. Salty Jordy, member of 2 months. Love that, by the way. Odds Vrabel doesn't get a head coaching gig because all coaches are fired. So our defensive coaches, seems people want offensive head coaches. So I'm guessing your question, Salty, is there a chance that Vrabel could be a defensive coordinator in Green Bay? I would be pretty shocked and surprised, but also sign me the hell up if they could do it. Look who it is. All right, Mr. Strap City, what you got?
Get my hand in the shot here. Hold on. Huh? Let's go. Let's go.
It is. There it is.
Good to
Absolutely
see you,
amazing. How was the 4 p.m. Cheesehead TV chat?
It was beautiful. It was lovely. I laughed. I cried. Somebody gave me a $50 super chat, and it was the weirdest super chat I've ever received. And I think it was Banky. I think someone's he's trying to play a trick on me. But other than that, it was great. A lot of people feeling really good about this game.
That's what worries me. Like I said earlier, they right when we thought like we didn't know what to expect against Chicago, and then they went out and they dominated. Then we started feeling good, and then they lose games, and then just as we're feeling like, oh, this team is 2-5, they suck. They go out and they win 3 in a row, and then they win 3 in a row, and you're like, man, this team's awesome. They got the easiest schedule remaining. They're going to go tear it up.
Lose to Tommy
they lose to Giants and Tampa, and then you're like, oh, this team sucks again. They win 3 in a row, so now like we need one more at least. So I'm just going to say they suck and they can't do anything and they're terrible.
My thing is I think Matt and Jordan are in such a good groove over the last like X number of weeks. I mean, as far as like their ability to discern, or Matt's ability to discern what the defense is trying to do, what they're good at, and finding ways to just take advantage of it for the most part. Although I will say, I said this on the radio, I don't want to see one of those deep outs. Like they've been throwing they've almost been spamming those things over the course of the last couple of weeks. Man, Bland is just looking for that. Like he's begging them to throw that. Like, no, thank you. Take that away.
Yeah, Jordan needs to be very careful with those and how he utilizes them, or like you said, just not at all. By the way, next year we are collaborating better so that we don't both do 4 p.m. happy hour chats on Fridays. So that's on me.
Bring it on, Herman. Although I will say, someone commented on the Let's Talk Football this past week. It was like, why do you guys only do one video a week? We should do more. We're going to do a couple more of these, but I'll let you go. I know people are like sick of me. So like keep chatting, keep going on, and just say, huh? Let's go.
Well, you're welcome to stay if you want to bail though, and just chat in the chat. That works too.
I got to get the pizza, but I appreciate it. Talk to you later.
Enjoy, man. Have a good one. Enjoy the game this week. All right, what else we got? I probably got 10 minutes left, guys. So anything else you want to hit up with? That was amazing, by the way. Well done for Aaron. And yes, Aaron and I are going to definitely do more content next year. That's for sure. All right. Romeo played against Bland in college and had 19 catches for 209, by the way. Wow. I did not know that. That's a good one, Salty Jordy. Good stuff. I have to bring you in the chat next. All right. I was at the Tommy DeVito loss. We're not going to bring this up, Devin. All my boys are Giants fans. It was a long hangover drive back to Canada with absolutely zero voice. I'm sure it was still an experience nonetheless, but hopefully your next game goes a little bit better for you. But stay away from Dallas this weekend, please. We don't need any bad juju at that game. All right. What else we got? Hit me up with some questions, guys. I think I got all the supers, just making sure. Yeah, we got those. All right. You guys are slow on the questions. There we go. Dylan, who do you expect to have a better game, Karl Brooks or Devontae Wyatt? I am going Devontae Wyatt. It's another guy I'm not selling my stock on yet. I mean, he is like this close to like a 3-sack breakout performance. What a game it would be for this one to be the one. He's due. He is so due. Like, he gets immediate pressure and he needs to finish better. There's no question about it. I feel like some of it's just been bad luck. And maybe this is the week he gets a little good luck to go his way. Maybe some of the sacks go in his lap this time rather than some of the other ones. But I'm going Devontae. He needs to have a big game in the run game, though. And I think that's same thing for Karl Brooks. When those guys are in there, they got to make sure they're stout because Green Bay has to keep their 2 safeties back. They're really going to want to against this passing attack. It's going to be paramount that those guys up front do the yeoman's work and eat their vegetables and make sure that they're taking care of business in that capacity before they just get after the quarterback. But man, I really like Devontae, and I really hope that this is his kind of breakout performance. Gary, I'm with you. Jones back another season. Yes. I will be shocked if Aaron Jones is not back next year. Shocked. Don't care about the contract. Like, they've gone on record multiple times saying like he is the heartbeat of the franchise. Like, he's the heartbeat of the team. He also looks amazing, and there's ways to make the contract work next year. It's a no doubter. They don't have a rookie or a young rookie or like young running back that's ready to step up and take his place. The running back draft is not very good. I would be shocked if Aaron Jones is not back. Like, just put it in ink. He's going to be back next year. Why were the McCarthy Way signs not taken down this week? I think there's a lot of love for Mike in Green Bay. And yeah, I don't think there's a lot of frustration with Mike or anything like that. So I hope nothing like that would happen. He deserves a ton of credit. I love what he did in Green Bay in a very similar situation to what Aaron Rodgers went through this year. It was just time. Like, it was just time. It was time. It was better for Mike to go somewhere else. It was better for the Packers to go in a different direction. I agreed with the decision to fire Mike after that Cardinals game. I was there. I did not disagree with it at the time, but I do wish it, in hindsight, I wish they could have gone a few weeks longer and waited until the end of the season. So it would have been a little bit better. But that was one of those that was just time on both sides, but a lot of respect for Mike and what he's done as a NFL head coach. And one of my all-time favorite moments, by the way, is him saying all like off season and all year long that he watched every single snap of the NFL during his year off, and then getting the job and in his first day on the job in his press conference being like, yeah, I might have exaggerated that a little bit. Just all-time Mike McCarthy moment. Absolutely loved it, but a lot of respect for Mike. Devondre Campbell comes back on his salary next season, pay cut or gone. I would, as much as I am as confident as I am about Aaron Jones being back, I'm almost as confident that Devondre will not be back. Not 1,000,000% positive. He did look better last week. We'll see what he does this week. They could really use a big Devondre game this week. The salary cap situation for Devondre is unique, where they do save money. But if you think that he's still starting caliber linebacker, you probably just bring him back. The situations have been weird. Like I said, I think they probably go in a different direction there, but it's still an interesting one. I guess I won't go as extreme as I was with Aaron being as confident as Jones being back, but I would lean towards him being the one. If there's a salary cut, that Campbell would be the one. I worry about most players being heated and getting silly fouls. I think this team is calm and composed, poised and composed, just combining words at my own discretion here. But yeah, I think they're going to be fine. I don't think there's going to be major issues. Quay has been much better under control this year. I don't think you're going to see those sort of things. I think this is a pretty focused team, actually. I talked about this a little bit yesterday in our members only chat. I don't think he regrets it. I don't think there's a regret. I think he's very much enjoying the fact that he's going to have a top 100 pick. And I won't go as deep as I went on the members only chat yesterday because I went on for a while about this. But in its simplest terms, don't think he regrets it. Think he's happy he has the top 100 pick. I do think if you told him that the Packers would be in the playoffs, and I think if you told him the Packers would be in the playoffs and Jaws hurt and Stokes is hurt, I think he definitely would have kept him. But hindsight, of course, is 2020 and can be a jerk sometimes. He didn't know that at the time. The Packers were 2-5, not trending well. Rasul didn't really fit their current timeline as to like when the next Super Bowl window is open. All of those things made sense at the time that they traded him. I thought it was the right move. I thought they made the right decision at the time. I know people hated it, but I at worst understood it. So I don't think they regret it. I think they had to go with what they knew at the time. And I think it was at least a okay / understandable move at the time, if not the right move. And I just don't think they knew what they knew now. And if they knew what they knew now, I think they just wouldn't do it. But I still don't think they regret it. Patrick, thanks so much for the super chat. I need your early draft prediction, offensive line or secondary in round 1. Also, any chance we take a wide receiver high? Love your daily content. Keep it up. Go Pack Go this weekend. Shock the world. Appreciate that, Patrick. Very kind of you. No chance they take a wide receiver high. I'll say like 1% chance. They got too many weapons already. They've not been a team that's had, even when they've like desperately needed a wide receiver high, they have not drafted a wide receiver high. This is like the last time they need a wide receiver high. So unless like Marvin Harrison is somehow available, something crazy happens, do not think it's going to be a wide receiver. As I mentioned earlier, I think it's either offensive line or secondary. Still too early. A lot of time left, or as Aaron would say, a lot of ball game left. I'll jump into the draft with pure aggressiveness as soon as the season is over. But outside of saying like, I really think it's probably an offensive line or a defensive back, I don't have a strong take one way or the other, but I do very much feel like it will not be a wide receiver. Hyde, Hayward, Rasul, Sullivan, so many players on defense who leave the let them catch then tackle mentality who end up being absolute ball hawks. Yeah. There were a lot of very good defensive backs who have gone on to very solid careers once they left Green Bay. Hyde and Hayward being the big ones. Rasul's been great in Buffalo. I don't know if I can quite put Shannon Sullivan on that list, but he's played some pretty decent football in Pittsburgh. I don't think he was great in Minnesota last year, but definitely some players who have stepped up elsewhere. That is for sure. Yeah, I know it's like a 4th round net. They traded Rasul and a 5th for a 3rd. I totally get it, but they still netted a top 100 draft pick. Like they gained a top 100 draft pick in the process. Those are very important, especially now that 3rd round picks aren't quite as cursed as they once were. We need some Ben Fennell content during the draft phase, 1,000,000%. That will 100% happen. No question about it. 2-5, that's the Cowboys record in the playoffs since they lost to the Packers in the divisional round in 2015. Listen, there's some things about this Dallas team has a lot of pressure on them, in my opinion. I don't think they're as good as their record. They beat up on some bad teams. When they played good teams, they were not as good. And I think this Dallas team is still prone to some boneheaded, stupid mistakes. Dan Quinn could be very much like flirting with Seattle while this whole thing is going on. Like, how focused is he on Dallas when he's got potentially Seattle knocking down his door for a head coaching job? There's just some things in this game that make me a little more optimistic. I'm excited for this one. Rich's presser yesterday seemed very tense. Any chance he knows his job is on the line? No, I guess I don't think there's any chance that they let him go after the season. Rich's pressers are always a little bit tense. He's always a little bit, not cantankerous, but like there's always a little bit of that in Rich's press conferences, I feel like. But no, I would be very shocked as well if Rich is not back next year. One more prediction. Who's your defensive coordinator in 2024? F it. I'll say Wink Martindale. I'll say they make it happen. Maybe that's just wishful thinking at this time, but I still don't think Barry's back. This game is going to go a long way in deciding that. If they win and the defense plays well, he's probably just back. If they lose and the defense plays terrible, he's probably gone. It's close though. I would say it's probably a coin flip as to whether or not Barry's back. And then if he's not back, then you've got a whole slew of candidates. If they win this week, like Martindale could get scooped up by some team before, Green Bay even has a defensive coordinator opening. So a lot's going to depend on this game specifically, but screw it. For speaking it into existence, if nothing else, I'll say Wink Martindale. Who's my favorite second-year player on this team, and why is it Bo Melton? I really like Bo Melton a lot. So I don't even know if I have a great answer for this, but I'm going to turn this into a Bo Melton conversation. I've said this all week and even into last week. This is not a fluke for Bo. I think he is a legitimate player. I think he can continue to bring playmaking to this offense. I think they found something. I think, if anything, they're wondering maybe why they didn't call him up a little bit sooner to maybe add a little bit of a spark to this offense sooner. they're going to have to feed a lot of mouths in this offense and figure out how that goes. And if everyone's healthy, I'm not sure how many snaps Bo gets in a game. They're going to have to figure that out as well. But man, I really think they have something there, and he's really, really fun to watch. I would be a little bit surprised if it's Jim Leonard. Could they revisit it? Yes. I still think that like just how things went down and Jim deciding to go in a different direction. Jim hasn't done much as of late. Like, I don't know. I don't feel it. I'll just put it that way. But I'm totally on board with the hire if that's the direction that they go in. Alexander, I think, is a Packer next season. Yes. Correct answer is Tucker Kraft. If we're talking second year players, the correct answer is definitely not Tucker Kraft, unless I'm in a different conversation here. Andy, I really think we should go inside linebacker, running back to learn under Aaron Jones, multiple safeties, corner. Your thoughts? Yes, sign me up. They've got 5 top 100 picks. They're going to have like another like 10, 11 picks in this draft. They'll be able to fill a variety of holes. And then it's just, does Goody hit the draft out of the park again? Or does he have more of like they're going to get 1 or 2 guys sort of draft out of it? But we'll see. Bo knows speed. Love knows Bo. Bo knows love. Bo so open. By the way, Marcus Eversole, by the way, for those of you in Green Bay, local radio host, brought up a great point. Bo Melton's jersey has Melton on the back and then number 80. If you were to spell Bo Melton's first name with numbers, it would be 80. So his jersey basically says Bo Melton because 80 is basically the number version of Bo, and then you've got Melton on it. It is a very jersey choice for Bo Melton, and it literally says Bo Melton, or I guess technically Melton Bo, but still awesome jersey choice for Bo Melton, and well done by Marcus Eversole by figuring that out. I was mad at myself for not figuring that out sooner. What's the thing I've learned about myself this past season? Holy crap, US sports cards. That's deep. I don't know that there's anything that I've learned about myself. I've learned that it was the right choice to do this full time. That's the biggest thing that I learned. There's always a little bit of a risk of like when you make that move of like, is this going to be the right move? But it is 1,000,000% been the right move. Yeah, bet on myself to some extent. Now I waited long enough where like there wasn't a ton of risk. I planned everything out very cautiously and carefully. So I had multiple safety nets there, but still if I learned anything, it's that I love doing this. There was a while back, just a really short aside here. I don't know how long I want to go with this, and I don't know how much this is going to bore you guys, but my favorite thing in the world up until this day that I've ever done in my life is still coach soccer. I love coaching soccer to death. If I'm on a sideline, like anything could be going on behind me and I would not know because I love coaching soccer. Just my favorite thing in the world. I started coaching when I was 15 years old, became the high school coach at Kaukauna High School, had JV and assistant varsity by the time I was 21 years old. And then things happened and I stopped coaching soccer for a while, long story. But anyway, the moral of the story was when I became coaching soccer, my favorite thing in the world, when I became the coach at Kaukauna, it was the greatest thing in the world. Now I got to do my favorite thing in the world and I got paid for it. What could possibly be better? And what happened? As soon as I got paid for it, it became a job. I had to be certain places at certain times, had to do certain things, booster events, all this stuff. And it became a job. And to the point where I didn't even enjoy it. I didn't like doing it. And that was really the reason why I kind of stopped, and then getting married and moving into a different area and those sort of things were all a part of that. But yeah, so it became a job and I didn't. So when I started doing all the Packer stuff, long story short here, I had a serious concern of like, do I ever want to do this for a job? Like it could become a job and like, I don't want to do it anymore. So I've been like, I've taken very cautious steps along the way to make sure that this has never become something that I dread doing, because that would suck. If all of a sudden, like the Packers became something that like I dreaded, like, oh, Packers got a 7 p.m. game. This is going to suck. I'm going to have to be up late talking Packer. And it hasn't been that at all. So if there's one thing I've learned, it's that I love doing this and it was the right move for me to make. And I'm super appreciative that I'm able to do it. So that's what I've learned. You help us bring our blood pressure down as Packer fans and be more informed with a deeper perspective. I appreciate everything you do. Super kind of you. Really appreciate that. US Sports Cards. I play soccer in Europe from Portugal. Great sport here, but I'm falling in love for American football. Listen, they're both amazing sports. And I know there's probably people here who are not going to love American soccer, European football, whatever you want to call it, as much. But it's a beautiful sport. I love it to death, and I love coaching. And I get to coach my both my sons now, which has been a real joy. I started by coaching my sister when I was 15, and then now I get to coach my sons, which makes it that much better. But beautiful, beautiful sport. Love it to death. Who's the highest ceiling in the wide receiver room? It's Wicks or Reed or I don't know. Wicks, Reed, or Watson are in the conversation. Watson probably still has the highest ceiling. If I don't think people realize if Watson turns out and stays healthy, that he could legitimately be like a 75 catch, 1,500 yard, like 18 touchdown guy, plus also running the ball. Like he's that freaking talented. So I think that the highest ceiling is still Watson. If you combine with like highest ceiling with what I also like expectations, I think it probably becomes a little bit more Reed or Watson, but Reed or Wicks, but Reed, Wicks, Watson, all very much in that conversation. Sorry, Liverpool guy, my friend. Hey, that's cool. That's totally cool. World Cup's great. I love the World Cup. Reed, Wicks, Melton. You guys, I'll buy your Christian Watson stock. Give it to me. I will take it. It's mine now. Reed, I won't argue that it's against Reed, but I'm still, again, pure upside. You take the injuries away, and you're just talking pure upside. To me, it is still very much Christian Watson. All right, one or two more guys, and then I am going to bail. I will be back live for post-game show on Sunday. I'm going to try to bring some friends if it's a win. I might go solo if it's a loss. But yeah, post-game show on Sunday. Carmen Vitale's episode is tomorrow on Saturday, pre-game show Sunday. And then, like I said, live post game, and then we'll get everyone back next week. And hopefully we're talking about Packers 49ers next week. Oh, geez. If they made me all powerful in charge of the NFL, what do I change? We define a catch better. We pay referees more and make it their full-time job to make the officiating better. What else do we do? We probably eliminate a preseason game and add another bye week, so that players can rest and recover. We try to change up the practice schedule so that players can develop a little bit more, and there's a little bit more time developing preseason. So 2 preseason games, extra bye week, add more practice time. What else do I want? Again, officials full-time. We're going to define what a catch is. Those are probably the main ones on my to-do list. That would be my primary to-do list. Am I hired or fired? We're gonna make sure that there's no playoff games on streaming stations. So that's where we're at. This I don't agree with, Sideline. No, not all bye weeks should be the same week. We're disagreeing there. Do you agree that we just have a few positions to upgrade in the draft that next season we will be scary? All right, well, let's look through it. Quarterback you could add like a veteran backup depending on what you feel like Sean Clifford is, but definitely more of a nice to have than a necessity. I think you need youth at running back. You need some playmaking and more dynamic play as your backup running backs. I think that's something you need. Wide receiver, you're good. Tight end, you're good. You could use I know Mercedes wants to play another year. If you wanted to bring Mercedes in for like one more season on a super cheap deal, you could do that, but I don't think you need it. You need depth and competition on the offensive line. I think they need at least 2 starting caliber offensive linemen, and you could bring that in free agency. You could bring that. You could bring a Yash or a Runyon back just for depth, or they could go get guys earlier in the draft. But Bakhtiari could be a piece of that. But I think you need more depth and competition along the offensive line. But I think on offense, you're mostly set. Backup running back, depth and competition on the O-line. There's not like a ton of asks there. Defensive line, I'm actually cool with. Running back, I think you could add one more piece if you wanted to. Edge, I think you're probably feeling pretty comfortable with Rashawn, Preston, Enigbare, and LVN, and you hope LVN takes the step. I think you probably want to move on from Devondre, and then you need another piece there next to Quay. Corner needs competition, and safety needs a total rehaul. And then you got to add special teams as much as you can. The Mike Wall Peacock conversation was epic. Absolutely. All right, I will take it. We need more run blocking offensive line monsters. Yeah, I feel like they could use a couple more, but go back and watch what they did against Chicago this week. There's ways to win without mauling people. It just depends on how you want to win. There's no perfect solution. sometimes the mauling guys aren't good as pass blockers. Like sometimes you have to wait out there. There aren't going to be 5 perfect offensive linemen that you're going to get that are good at mauling people in the run game and super efficient as pass protectors. You're just not going to find 5. So sometimes you have to live a half life with some of that. But overall, guys, awesome conversations. Somebody upvotes. If you can click the thumbs up, it helps the channel. Like, comment, subscribe, check out Pack a Day podcast memberships. Shout out to Aaron Nagler for coming in, doing the belt. And like I said, me and Aaron will do more content next year. I will see you guys soon. Like I said, live post game, Carmen Vitale tomorrow, Sunday pregame show. Make sure to check all that out. But until next time, and as always, and especially on Super Wildcard Week, go Pack Go.